my older brother. So
I don't know what my older brother is. A clone of my mother.
it's so weird. Like three FI doms, like three boys, and all three of us are FI doms. It's kind of weird.
But that's fun.
But they don't seem really like growing up. They didn't really seem like FI doms, to be honest.
I'm sure it's different compared to like growing up with three girls or something that are FI doms and like having a period every month and it's pain. That's the really frustrating thing, probably with I guess women is that I mean, sometimes you just don't want people to breathe around.
They don't want people to what?
You just don't want people to breathe around.
Mm-hmm.
But that only happens like once a month.
That's very frequent. It's only like 25% of your life that you're suffering. That's all. Just 25% of the month or your life.
You know.
So imagine like three FI dom sisters who've all synced up, so their periods at the same time.
Normally, all girls sync up.
So it'd be a bloodbath.
That's what happens at where I work. All the girls pretty much just sync up. My boss said whenever we hire someone new, it messes up from my days up.
That's so freaking weird. Like,
Yeah, I don't get it.
My ex would not believe that is real. And she's a girl.
She wouldn't believe that it was real.
Yeah, she doesn't believe that she's like, that's a myth.
No. About once a month, man, where I work, I think, that's usually when, like, people quit or get fired or whatever.
That's hilarious.
It is funny.
I'm looking it up, and according to HuffingtonPost.com, it might be a myth because they couldn't replicate the findings that they did originally in studies about women syncing up. But then they said that maybe, like, now that birth control is a thing, it's hard to tell.
I've heard many anecdotal reports like Katie's that it does happen.
No, I have friends who always talk about it. But, well, not all the time. Like, they don't constantly talk about how they sync up. But they've
me and my friends talk about syncing periods like all the time.
I always feel a little left out, when I realize that I haven't synced up with them.
You forced me.
Your desire for harmony, you should just be like, yeah, you guys, girls, I'm totally feeling bloated.
I'll just cut myself right in front of them. Look, I'm bleeding too. Did you ever want to be a woman at any point?
Mm-hmm.
Like actively or in passing?
I don't know what that means. Like, what the difference would be.
So, like, one is plagued with the desire to be a woman, and then the other is like, oh, that'd be so much cooler if I was a woman.
How about you?
Oh yeah, I've gone through phases of like being plagued with the desire, but mostly it's not like, oh, that would have been cool if I was born a woman, but not. So, like, it would have been more convenient for sure.
If you had a
But
clone and the clone was female, would you sleep with it?
how could it be a clone if it's female?
um, I don't know.
So you mean everything's the same except it's got like boobs and a vagina? And
I think this was one of the questions on the questionnaire at OKC.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know.
Did you ask him if he ever thought about becoming a woman? Was that what I heard?
Yeah.
it wasn't like a personal like question. It was just like a
No.
like a question about humans in
He,
general.
he
And
asked.
it's not everybody wondered about being like the other gender. Like,
He asks all his questions in such a like calm, monotone voice. You could be like, so like he can ask any really weird, serious question and it doesn't stand out. So I'm like tricked into answering it.
you gotta watch out for Neptune. But
I know he's stealth. He's stealth.
What? Why does everyone demonize me? I'm
We're
so
not demonizing.
persecuted.
You go deep. You go so deep
you gotta be.
into the depths.
I
Isn't
wonder-
that where Neptune lives, in the depths of the sea?
I actually don't know where the god Neptune lives, or if he
think
just like
he-
rules the sea, or if he lives there.
I think he lives in the depths, and that's the perfect name for you. Have you seen the YouTube phenomenon? His name is, what the fuck is his name? He's some NF guy. Deep Waters or something.
I don't think so. No, I'm gonna look it up.
Let me see real quick. What's it called?
Is he black?
Yeah,
I found him. Infinite Waters, diving
Infinite Waters, going deep once again.
Peace, infinite.
deep. Oh.
Peace, Infinite Waters, coming to you once again, diving deep.
His voice
With
annoys me. I do not like.
Neptune, going deep with Neptune.
I hate people that are like overly expressive. Like it makes me think everything they say is like not genuine.
Authenticity, first and foremost.
I didn't even realize that was like an FI thing until now. I thought I was just a highly critical individual who had a really sensitive radar for bullshit.
You do have a sensitive radar for unauthentic behavior of any kind.
But
That's why SPs are your nemesis. Katie's actually your antonym. She's your enemy.
Or what?
Because SPs, like yourself, are inauthentic. You're
Yeah, no, I'm not original.
no, that's not what authenticity means. That like performers and actors and stuff, it's all about projecting a persona, making an impression. Actually, ISFP is the one that would be authentic. Actually, I take that back, Kitty. I'm sorry. ISFPs are authentic.
That's right.
he just like
I take
tore
it
you to
all
shreds
back.
and was like, "Oh, never mind."
All those horrible things I said, I was wrong.
Katie and Tim are in an abusive relationship, apparently.
No, I love you, Katie. You're awesome.
That's
I
part
can
of
see,
the devaluing and the
I can see you
valuing.
glaring at me.
Well, yeah, I guess.
It's very authentic the way you're glaring at me.
That might be stepped up a bit. I step up my SE stuff. I think it'd be SE. Sometimes for the fun of it, and sometimes for the benefit of it.
Oh, that's inauthentic. Doing it for fun, that's inauthentic, isn't it, Neptune?
Yeah, it would be inauthentic, but
If at the core of you, all you really want to do is have fun, then it's authentic.
Oh, how about this, Neptune?
Sometimes I can use it in ways for persuasion, satisfy other people's SE that they don't even really know that they want, or whatever. Satisfy their whatever make them happy, SE-wise, because everybody wants their senses happy. And even if they don't fucking know it, they want it. So I might
have it. It's
but that's
actually
from, like, I don't know, life and learning shit. Some things are kind of selfish. If you're going to get anywhere in life.
Pamela Anderson's an ISFP, according to Celebrity Types.
many artists of all kinds are ISFPs or ESFPs.
Like, for some reason, Pam Anderson just doesn't fit on the list.
Yeah.
Photographer, that would be what I would do.
Hey, dirt pile person down there. Who is this dirt pile that joined us?
Ash is an ENTP.
ENTP?
He's quite young.
Yeah.
What's your name? What's their name?
Ash.
Ash. Good day, Ash. Oh, there you are on the chat. Would you rather have a good perception relation of something or make it have a good function? I don't understand your question. Do you have a microphone?
Ash has a microphone, but...
So that I may interrogate you? That's okay.
You can't speak when you're safe.
We value authenticity around these things. Okay,
is that your mic or Ash's mic?
Must be someone else's. I don't have a mic. I have a phone.
Okay. Yeah, that was...
That's a mic right there. Microphone check. Wicka, wicka, 1, 2.
Microphone
Check. Scratch the mic. Bump it. Slide it across the table. Check. Microphone check.
Yeah.
There's Ash. What's up, Ash?
Not much, but a lot.
Whereabouts do you reside? Am I hearing some UK accent? Some Commonwealth accent?
I can't hear him. Can you?
I did for like 1 second.
Yeah, I mean...
That's what I'm basing my analysis off of. Are you in the Commonwealth, Ash?
never got to finish our chat about wanting to be another person.
I believe it was another gender you were going on about.
Yeah, I got interrupted. Now the flow is just like ruined. We'll never get it back.
That's what she said. I'll never get it back, Neptune said after he changed his gender. I'll never get it back.
It's like, I don't think I'd ever want it back. I wouldn't really, like, I could probably live happily in any body. Happily is a strong word. But I could probably live in any body.
That's kind of creepy sound. Where the fuck is that light on?
Why does that sound creepy?
I could live in any body?
It makes me sound like a demon when you say it like that.
That's what it sounded like.
I mean, like,
I'm being demonized.
yeah, once again.
What would that be like?
Now that I'm an INFP, I can, like, play the victim card so much harder than I used to.
How do you know you're an INFP for sure? I mean, it adds up. Like, is there something to support it or some shit?
It's because he's moist.
God, everybody stop fucking saying that moist shit. Moist.
Some people...
FI can be dry as fuck.
I just like saying the word moist.
You're not the only one.
I guess you're outnumbered then.
FI, like, can hoard moisture to the point that everyone perceives it as dry.
Yeah, we
So
can also
if
fire.
Neptune is hold on. If Neptune is an INFP, does that also make Spacey an INFP? So there are no real INFPs.
Spacey's not an INFP, and if he is an INFP, then I'm no longer an INFP.
Spacey is...
Spacey's not an INFP, then how do you know you are an INFP?
Hey,
Neptune is an INFP because he wants to know about people and their feelings. End
So
of story.
That's the only reason he...
No. So I've always had, like, so both, like, my TE and my FE are unused, which is both the inferior function of, you know, FE is INTP's inferior function, and TE is INFP's inferior function. So it's like, and then FI and TI have always been very, very close. So yeah, and then my SE is unused. So basically, like, the function stack, like, they're so close together, but then when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I care more about, like, my subjective perception, understanding, and the things I do with those understandings than actual, like, objectivity and
you know,
like, concrete.
I thought about this earlier. Being an FI Dom, it's kind of hard to narrow that one down because if you're feeling first, you also think, but you're feeling. But you think you're thinking.
Yeah, but...
So it's just kind of a hard one to narrow down. What the fuck happened to my hair?
Paradoxically, FI isn't about feeling. It's the closest word to describe it, but it's actually not about
How would you describe it, Ash?
Really? Because FI is like one that nobody can figure out except for FI people. And I think I was just describing it.
FI is a sort of relational thing. It's, in my opinion, as I've been toying with functions for a long, long time, I think I finally concluded that it might be close to feelings, but I don't know if I should directly describe it as feelings. FI is about relations of things, you know? Hold on, I'll visualize it.
Visualize.
The functions, hold on.
I guess a good way to describe why I came to a conclusion that just a final thought on it is like there's like two poles like that or two like streams that are pulling me, I guess, and one is like the way I feel and understand things, and then the way I know that they are objectively, and the way that I feel and perceive them is
Feeling is what drives.
pulls me way more strongly than like the need for objectivity does, and the need for truth in that way. But I guess that depends on the truth. But yeah.
Do you get the vibes that I am an INTP or something else?
You could be like a highly wounded INFP who created a TI shell, but for the most part, you seem like an INTP to me.
I do not get the vibe of INTP, but what the fuck do I know?
If you put me next to someone like Susie, I don't seem like much of an INTP. I seem way more NFE.
Yeah, but also like, yeah. I mean, I suppose that's where like for you to figure out. I guess you're the only one who knows how mind works, or be able to figure it out. Damn it! I was going somewhere and I lost it. Fuck. Never mind.
Sometimes when you're inside of your own mind, you can't see things that other people can.
Yeah.
Have you questioned your type?
Yes. And like I said, I at one point typed as INFP.
Oh, I didn't even remember you saying that, actually.
When I was a teenager,
oh, I do remember that.
INFP.
INFP?
When I was a teenager.
They said ISFP.
No.
And then you got comfortable really fast hopping in here. I had my eyeball on the screen for like 6 months.
But Neptune, with your highly sensitive NF intuition, do you pick up NF vibes coming from me? Because I feel like...
Hold on. I'll just finish it up when I download
like
the cam.
Susie, I'm not like Spacey.
I mean, I think that you might be like just you could be an INTP who is also like, have you heard of like HSPs, like highly sensitive people, like one of those people, kind of like almost like a disorder in a weird way. Yeah, but like the thing about that is if you're a highly sensitive person for long enough, you end up like sort of detaching in usually an unhealthy way. And the person, I think, usually understands that detachment is a negative thing, but it's also their only coping resource. So they continue to do it because they also don't know how to reattach. So I don't know. That's a possibility. I could see you being INFP in your past life, and now this new detached self is INTP. New implies that it's like recent, but it's probably been there for a while, if it's the case.
I don't know about the reincarnation metaphysical stuff, but I am in this current lifetime a highly sensitive person.
Yeah, I didn't mean like a literal past life. I meant like when you were younger, but
Hey, there's Ash in his visualizations.
Wait, how old are you again, Tim?
38.
Oh, okay.
But
you were younger for some reason.
I am younger in a way. whatever your intuition feels the age that I am, that's the age that I am in my
You're kind of mystical.
mystical is an NF attribute. Oh shit, Neptune. I'm gonna turn an INFP like you. Uh-oh.
That'd be fun. We could have an INF party.
It's an INF party. It's
That would
an
make
INF
me,
party.
you, Kit Kats, and Adam. Even though Adam, I don't think, has decided on a type yet.
I think hanging out with NFs every day at work is making me more NF also. For a while, I was working with computers, which is just like logic, and
Did it kill your soul?
It did. It was unsatisfying. I'm more satisfied now dealing with people. So, an INTP would have been more satisfied with the computers.
I don't think necessarily, because they still have NE in the stack, which still seeks like novelty and excitement in that way. You know, so I think it's possible for them to be very, very bored with that.
That's true. Maybe I'm like some kind of weird hybrid. My F and T is balanced.
It's kind of how I felt, honestly. Like, I've gotten INTP on more tests than INFP, but like still, I just like, if I really look at it, like doing the comparison thing, actually, I think is a good way to know. Like, I kind of did the same thing you did with like I'm not like any of these INTPs, and like I am in some ways, but like ultimately at our core, I don't feel like I really relate to them. Do you feel like at your core you relate to the other INTPs? I mean, because like just looking at people on a surface level, you know, is not necessarily a good indicator. Like cognitive functions, you know, the way your mind works is like a little bit deeper. You know, it shapes a lot of you, so it makes sense that you relate way more to them than the NFs. You know.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this now because it's a good way to come at it is to determine which type do I feel more in common with. And I think it's easier for me to talk to you than the other INTPs around here. But that might just be because INTPs talking to each other is harder than...
You know what I think? I think you could read each one, I and E, figure out which one is you. N and S, figure out which one is you. F and T, and then the J and P. That's the way to type yourself, is to figure out each one and what they mean, and then what you are.
That is a good way. I'm definitely an I. I'm definitely an N. And the T and F, I think I'm like balanced, so that's what I'm confused about. I'm definitely a P.
Same. That's always been my problem.
So I'll look at it from the function stack.
And I came to that conclusion too, Tim, before. I was like, oh, well, maybe it's like the whole like chameleon effect, you know, that INTPs tend to have. You know, they kind of like mimic whoever is in front of them. But if like both of them are attempting to mimic, you know, then it doesn't really work. It's kind of like a chameleon trying to blend in with glass. And also there's another aspect to it of like INTPs have already come to all the same conclusions, so there's no real like different perspective to offer to conversation, which is a big part of conversation, you know. Otherwise it's like, yes, I agree. Cool, maybe.
Okay, hang on. I'm looking at the function stack, and this makes it even more confusing to me because even though INFP and INTP only are one letter in difference, that TI is in the eighth slot for an INFP, and the TI is in the first slot for INTP. That's like a huge difference. And my TI is definitely plenty strong.
So eighth slot doesn't actually make it necessarily like super weak. It's mostly of like okay, so we have like role. If you're an INFP, you have role TI. So that's like what the world is gonna see. Like when you're talking to people, you'll like try to be logical and like you'll sound like everything's pretty logically sound if you're an INFP. But then when people really pry into like why you do things or a logical inconsistency, it makes you kind of uncomfortable because you know that you don't necessarily operate on that level in your everyday life. You know, and that those things don't really drive you, so they're harder to describe and rationalize to other people and out loud. And then similarly, INTPs have role FI, so the world is going to see FI, so they're going to try not to step on people's feet. They're going to be like sensitive to other people's feelings and things like that. And honestly, that bringing in the role functions kind of even confused me more because I relate to both things, but. And they also, INTPs also won't like spill their innermost feelings to other people because, like once people try to pry deeper, you know, they don't usually give up information that quickly and they feel uncomfortable unless they really, really are close to you and feel that you're worthy. So that even blurs the line more, sorry. But I went through the same process.
Well, I think it might take me a little time to figure this out, but that's a good few strategies to pursue. And Ash looks like he's got his nice diagram there. Magically, just blew that thing up so fast. And he played a game of Tetris, listening to us talk and to keep himself from being bored. And now I think we should look at his drawing and answer his very serious, deep question. Something about F times T. Can you zoom in on that? Small typing words in the middle there. There you go. Yeah.
Have you taken the keys to cognition test, Tim?
No.
Okay, it breaks down your function stack, so maybe this will clear some things up for you. 1 second.
You want to link me, or should I just search for it? Or
I'm linking you. 1 second. Sorry.
You should be sorry.
Well, I just didn't I was thinking about my tone and how that could have come off as rude, but the way I said it.
No, it's all good.
Because I was like breathing in deeply while I was saying it, so I was like, I'm like looking it up right now, but it wasn't.
I'm so offended by your tone, Neptune. I don't know if we can be friends after this.
That's legit my thought process when someone uses a certain tone with me.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
sensitive.
They were so rude today. I don't know if I can be friends with them.
Fragile, sensitive, INFP. I'll have to be so much more gentle with you. I've been trying to like instigate you to get you to talk, and that's not the approach with INFPs. Not the right approach at all. Okay, I got that test I'll take after we deal with Ash here. He's been so patient. I am curious about his little diagram. I would like to know what part of the globe he hails from, though. It's just, I'm so curious about his accent. He doesn't seem to like to talk on his microphone, though. Alright, there's that diagram. The letters under the F are too small for me to read still. Can you zoom in? There, okay. Alright, right there. Stop.
Ew, this looks gross. Who does that?
Does what?
Oh, I looked at that wrong. Okay, it looked like so it looked like someone had like a pasta sandwich, which makes no sense. So like pasta inside of bread. But it was like it's like sliced up veggies that resemble pasta on a hot dog.
All right, Ash, or keep your diagram just as it is, because I can actually read it. And please come on the microphone and explain what it means, because I've never seen anything like this. And JE and JI, I don't know what that is. And I don't know what you're on about, but I'm still so very curious. There's like 2 perceptive and 2 evaluative functions. Okay. Are you following Ash's train of inquiry here, Neptune?
Is it frozen and kind of like fragmented for you too?
His screen?
Yeah.
He's got it split, so he's typing on one side and his diagrams on the other.
Yeah. I don't understand the sings and kicks and swims and whatever.
We could understand you with your mic on, Ash. If you want to explain it, it will probably go faster. JE minus TE and FE. No, your mic is not on. Or you're not talking. Yeah, it explains a lot. He's like, it's because of this and this and this, you guys.
I feel bad. He's just like,
why don't you understand what I'm saying to you? Let me say it again. Robert.
Yeah, a lot of paranoia builds up. Sorry.
He's starting to think.
We can hear you.
Great. The way I see it. Oh yeah. By the way, there's like 4 types of functions in a way. There's like it's groups of functions, and there are like 2 perceptive and 2 evaluative functions, or I like to call them evaluative. They're in real MBTI. They're called judging functions. Like there's a shortcut, and they can be like grouped up in G, J, E, because they work in a similar manner. They're just focused on different things, right? I want to go into perceptive functions, that is sensing and intuition, not today. And the way I see it is that feeling is... You see it? You see
I
the
see
words?
your diagram. I see the diagram.
Yeah. So the way I see it is that feeling is more concerned about the relations between objects and people instead of their functions, right? So enemy friend, is the tie, the relation strong or weak, or is it like friend or enemy? And it's a lot about perception. So to this object can be an enemy for some reason, but a thinker would instead see that this object sings or kicks, but doesn't really know the relation between these 2 objects if his feeling is not developed. And GE and GI, it's kind of like GE is kind of like grouping elements together to a conclusion or to a goal. So it's like ability to take 3 things and make them one element. So kind of...
So finding the common thread between a lot of different things?
Like No, I think that's an I. That's rather an I. But I mean, like when you have a project, you need a solution. So you like kind of group all of that stuff up and simplify it throughout TE so you can actually realize it. It's like the conclusion part.
Mm-hmm.
In GI is like in the opposite direction. So you take a group and you like divide it into elements. So in my opinion, even though I do not understand it because it's my least developed function, I think that the INFP works on the basis like INTPs, and instead of breaking down the functions of every single thing, it kind of like breaks down relations. And the world, I don't believe that the world has ever worked upon relations, so thinkers don't kind of understand the logic of feelers. Like feelers don't work on what works as a function or not, but what brings a good relation, a good perception. And that's kind of in my opinion, the main problem why feelers might be perceived in a bad way. What do you think?
I think it's really interesting. I guess like if you could give me like as far as like the grouping elements and stuff goes, like if you give me a real life example of each different than the one that you gave, then it might be easier for me to like understand exactly like the underpinnings of this theory.
Yeah. So kind of you have T, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you have a car. You have a car, and what TI does is like take the whole car, and instead of saying like, oh look, this is a car, this drives, TI goes like, this is a wheel, this does A, this is the engine, it does B, and breaks down things into like individual elements, and then takes those elements and breaks them down again and again and again until it like knows as long as it wants to go, until it's like in really, really small elements and sees every single function of everything.
That's what
So it's like
is that what TI does?
Should. Yeah.
I relate to that.
But INFPs instead of breaking like the car down into small pieces, INFP should theoretically break down the relations. So instead of saying like this group doesn't like group B, I'm just improvising right now because I don't really understand FI that well since it's my polar function. But by theory, it should be like seeing that group A doesn't look group B, doesn't like group B. But instead of saying like group A doesn't like group B, it's like group A is consistent of 10 members, and 10 members believe the best member, so they're like supportive of him, and as they're supportive of him, the best member had a bad relation with another member of the other group, and like breaking stuff down into the simplest and the biggest amount of relations to kind of understand why is there such a relationship between those two groups. So it doesn't see relations in a simple manner, but it can be described as relations because it kind of works on the basis of relationships. But I think it could even work outside the basis of like human interaction. So INFPs, in my opinion, could be great scientists throughout psychology and biology.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like feeling is not dumb, it just works on a different basis that science hasn't worked upon.
Yeah, I'm trying to like search and relate it, I guess, and understand it, frame it in a way that like it relates to my life, and see which one I relate to more. But
Ash, is this all your theory, and is JEJI from MBTI, or is that your own invention?
JEJI is from the official theory. The rest is what I've made up based on what I've seen throughout the stereotypes from self-experience, and I was building upon MBTI and really trying to understand the functions for about half a year.
Okay. Are you INTP?
I am ENTP.
ENTP.
So, like, if you're an INFP, can you, like, relate to that? That you break down relations and kind of see why people have the relations they have, and then try to work with that?
I'm trying to like put this into a concrete example to make it more understandable. To relate it to my own experience and thought process, it helps to have an experience that's happened to apply it to this diagram. It's like hard to translate into that. Neptune, are you like?
So I usually, like, when I'm looking at, we'll just use human relations because it's the easiest thing to define. I think about all the possible reasons why someone might feel something towards someone based on every interaction they've had and based on their core, like their core traits. So, like, I'll be like, well, there's limited reasons why they would react to this thing this way. You know, it could have been because of this in their childhood or because they have ego issues or blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, I like to do that over and over until I come to the most likely conclusion, I guess. So I don't really know where that fits in with this, to be honest. Because in one sense, I'm reducing things only so that I can understand the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's what INTPs do with their TI.
So, yeah, so that makes you think that I'm an INTP, you're saying?
No, I mean, like, in the way that they break things down only to understand it for, like, the moment, and they, like, can turn away from it and start on a new thing. I don't know if it will be usual for an INTP. That's an interesting thought. But I mean, like, they don't have to go all the way down towards everything because nobody can totally understand every single aspectual element of every single thing. So at one point they'll have to reach a conclusion, them liking it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what you've said, maybe it's my bias, but what you've said at least a little bit correlated with it. Like, they've had some issues and the issues were caused by the person's relations towards a certain thing. But I mean, relations can be sort of like built as disgust towards something. It could be broken down into opinions too, etc.
I mean, mostly finding, like, the common... Like, I'm good at finding, like, the core of a problem, which is why, like, when there's a fight going on with someone, for instance, between two people, I know exactly what each person should be saying to the other person, because I know which, like, communication plane they operate on and which ones they don't operate on. So I know which ones they have in common and which ones they don't, you know? So I'm like, if you explain it in this way, even though it is this complex, this person's not going to understand you because they think in this way, which is also complex, but they're just, like, on the opposite end of the spectrum. So, like, I try to find the middle ground to that. But ultimately, I understand. Like, what's more interesting to me is finding out why people operate on those communication levels and understanding levels and whatever, or come from those perspectives. So I'm more curious about like the motivation and the way those people got there as opposed to solving the problem.
Yeah, that kind of correlates with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just rambling, hoping that I got somewhere.
No, but it's quite useful for me because every INFP I meet is just like hard to not make them a strong FI sort of can't. So it's nice to meet people like you. And I don't really have that strong FI. So
Wait, so
I
were
don't
you
know.
gathering that that was more TI or FI? Like which one, according to your model, I guess?
Wait, what did you just say?
Like what I was describing and explaining, was that more of a TI or FI thing, like an INTP?
That sound that sounds like pretty FI, in my opinion. Like seeing how, I mean, communication on itself should be theoretically relations. It's like how people see things, how they relate to things, how they relate to each other, how they relate to certain words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But I mean, you've said like you're trying to discover the reason for why they think a certain way and feel a certain way.
sort of like the mechanics of their brains, but like the emotion side of their brain, you know? Like I try to actively and thoroughly put myself like try to like I really do look at people's emotions kind of like a machine. You know, like this went off and this triggered this and then this went there. Like I don't know. Hard to describe. It's like a very visual process for me, but
like a chain reaction and groups of things
yeah,
that work with each other towards that one point.
yeah, towards like a certain behavior or perception or whatever.
So like A dislikes apples and B loves apples. So that gives them a bad relation between A and B.
Wait, repeat that?
So like A hates apples and B loves apples, and A and B know each other only from apples, so their relation is bad in that sort of way. That's me pathetically trying to stimulate FI.
Yeah, I don't think that would be like a good example necessarily. It'd be like one of them trying, like, if they were both trying to get each other to like the type of apple that.
Oh, so
Yeah, they're
I
like-
kind of thought that like FI is passive, but I kind of see that the way you describe it, it seems kind of like active.
I think it's
Like an
active. It
active-
like definitely motivates most people's behavior. I think even NTs, to be honest, I feel like even if they don't realize it, you know,
Does not.
sure it does.
It's a judging function. So yeah, it's active.
So like, so give me a good FI example.
Okay, I'm gonna I'm like better with working with something else someone gave me, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not really good at articulating it either, to be honest.
Like a concrete example, like something that happened in your life. You don't have to be specific. You can like make it a story, giving different names, something that happened at your elementary that looks like FI. Sort of.
I'll just say how like NTs maybe like, so like somebody who may be really good at logic, and they would consider themselves an NT, they may get into like lots of arguments because they like the feeling that it gives them when they win a debate or something. That is FI motivation ultimately. Yeah, so that's like an example of how everyone operates on FI on some level. Or like I've said before, like if you look at functions in terms of values and the way they're ordered, and then things are like functions are personally valued, and then if you think FI is personal values, then technically even your top function, even if it's not FI, it's still an FI. It started with FI.
Ash, did you see the raw footage when I started yelling at Eric?
No.
Okay, well, you
Actually,
should
I
watch
didn't.
it. It's a gem. Anyways, I was yelling at him because he let Courtney back in the room. I believe that was FI because it was. It's not that Courtney was an issue. I mean, Courtney was an issue, but that's not what pissed me off about it. It pissed me off because he had said that he'd kick her 3 times, and it was revolting to me that someone could be so spineless to their own word. I think that is FI. Like, just on principle. Somebody with FI not in their 7th slot, maybe some feedback on that.
I mean, I definitely only saw FI when I was watching that argument on both ends for the most part. Although Eric did seem like his eyes went to that place where they go to detach, and then, so he had an FI reaction and reacted in a logical way to your FI attack.
Which was based on principles, which is FI. I chose this one because it was like rooted in principle and not just that emotion.
No, it's pretty beefy. We have a lot to dig into, but the principle wasn't like a universal principle, and you knew, and you knew that it wasn't at your core with your TI,
right?
So you knew that it took some amount of FI leaping to get to that place where you attacked someone on something that wasn't a universal principle.
I mean, it's not that obscure. It's pretty much. Yeah, it is. It is subjective.
I mean, because ultimately, like, Eric won the argument because the TI didn't add up.
He did not win shit. Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry, I had to get an FI reaction from you.
That was smooth, Neptune. Wow.
Well played.
Sorry. Where was I even going with that?
I don't remember, but I had a new tab open for purpose and I forgot it too. What the fuck was I doing in this tab? Oh, yeah.
You're going through the vortex of recursive video.
Yeah. I think I saved it somewhere because so many people have asked me for it.
That visual is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Right now.
I'm just like spacing out at your screen. I can see my ass out into infinity.